So, thank you very much, colleagues, and I'd like to welcome you all to this webinar co-organized by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development and the UN Office for South-South Cooperation, Triangular Cooperation. So the title of this webinar is Strengthening Partnership and International Solidarity through Triangular Cooperation, 1 year after BAPA plus 40 and in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we'll start with a short video about the GPI on effective triangular cooperation, and then we move on our program. So please, if you can put the animation video on.
Effective Triangular Cooperation, a global partnership initiative. The triangle is the strongest, most stable shape there is. From the Egyptian pyramids to the intricate structure of geodesic domes, triangles have been integral to many advances in human engineering. And now, they're at the heart of a brand new enterprise, the Global Partnership Initiative on Effective Triangular Cooperation, led by a core group composed of Canada, the Islamic Development Bank, Japan, Mexico, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation. Triangular cooperation is a game-changing way for countries and organizations to work together in groups of 3 or more, overcoming challenges and driving development so that all of them benefit. It's a highly effective form of collaboration, of bringing people out of poverty, and it's on the rise. Here's how triangular cooperation works. 3 or more countries or organizations come together to address a particular development issue that one of them is facing. The facilitator helps connect the partners together, giving financial and technical support to the collaboration. The pivotal partner often has proven experience tackling the issue at hand and shares its resources, knowledge, and expertise to help others do the same. The beneficiary is the target for the development and is responsible for ensuring that resources are allocated effectively and that results are sustainable. With roles shared in this way, and with knowledge, benefit, and communication flowing between all partners, these collaborations are incredibly robust and can bring about real change. They enable South-South and North-South cooperation to happen in innovative ways, with project partners forming strong bonds and building relationships as they reach across borders to help each other grow. We see huge potential in triangular cooperation, and we're not alone. The Global Partnership Initiative on Effective Triangular Cooperation has already been joined by development organizations, academic institutions, and civil society organizations from 5 continents. These members are exploring the potential of multi-stakeholder cooperation in 3 different areas. Advocacy, establishing a definition and a set of voluntary principles. Analytical, collecting and analyzing real-world case studies in order to understand all possible applications of triangular cooperation. And operational, creating a space to share lessons and challenges to support participants in future projects. To learn more about triangular cooperation and to find out how you could join this unique global platform and benefit from a triangular partnership, please contact one of the core members of the Global Partnership Initiative on Effective Triangular Cooperation. Effective Triangular Cooperation, the future of collaborative development.
Thank you very much for this video that really gives an overview of the GPI on effective triangular cooperation. And also I'd like to inform you that since the release of that video, the number of the core group of the GPI has grown. So now we have 8 members: Canada, Chile, Japan, Mexico, the Islamic Development Bank, the American Program for the Strengthening of South-South Cooperation, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, and the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation. We also look forward to the African Union Development Agency, or DANEPA, to join the core group, and also would like to recognize all the support received from Norway. Thank you very much. So once again, I'd like to welcome you all to this webinar organized by OECD and the UN Office for South-South Cooperation on Triangular Cooperation. after 1 year of BAPA, the conference that took place last year, and also in the very special context of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'd like to highlight that this webinar is taking place in a very special day, which is the day of the celebration of the South-South Cooperation that commemorates the adoption 1978 of the BAPA, the Buenos Aires Plan of Action in 1978. I'd like also to highlight that the BAPA plus 40 outcome document has given a special place to triangular cooperation as an innovative modality of cooperation that serves as a bridge between the South and the North, while highlighting the South-South Cooperation framework. This webinar that is very timely also is taking place within, as I said before, a very special context that we are facing now with the COVID-19 crisis. And global cooperation, coordination, and interdependence are highlighted as key aspects of the response to this pandemic and its social economic consequences. And I think triangular cooperation could also give an important framework in order to make this coordination, cooperation, and independence happen. And here I'd like also to echo the words of the UN Secretary General when he said that no country in the world will be able to overcome this crisis alone. Today also will mark an important step toward the establishment of a formal framework of cooperation between OECD and UNFCCC, because today we'll be also marking the signature and the establishment of an MOU of cooperation between the two organizations. So with just these few remarks and few words, I'd like to move to our opening session. And in the opening session, we have two speakers, Mr. Jorge Moreira da Silva, Director of the Development Cooperation Directorate of OECD, and Mr. Jorge Shediak, UNOCC Director and Envoy the Secretary General on South-South Cooperation. So we have two Jorges for this opening remarks. So without further ado, I don't know if Mr. Jorge Moreira da Silva has joined the webinar, so I'd like to give him the floor. George?
Thank you.
Yes. Jorge, please have the floor.
Thank you, Tariq. So I'm very glad to be with all of you today, and let me start by thanking the UN Office for South-South Cooperation, and especially Jorge Shediak, my good friend, for the excellent collaboration. We are all pleased that today, in this special day, we are announcing the signature of this Memorandum of Understanding between the UN Office of South-South Cooperation and OECD. This MOU is a result of an excellent collaboration between the OECD and your office, especially in the run-up to BAPA plus 40, the implementation of the BAPA plus 40 outcome document, but also as partners in this global partnership initiative for effective triangular cooperation. We are already delivering joint work to fill our MOU with life. So we were not waiting for the MOU signature to really going towards action. The OECD and the UNOSCE teams are preparing a joint paper on triangular cooperation with African partners. As I had mentioned in other occasions during the lead up to BAPA plus 40, DAC members, the UN Office for South-South Cooperation and our host, Argentina, joined forces in advocating for a stronger recognition of triangular cooperation with success, as Jorge mentions very often. And I want to reiterate the OECD commitment to contribute to implementing the agreements from BAPA plus 40, together with the Portuguese government. For example, we organized the 5th international meeting on triangular cooperation under the heading of implementing the BAPA plus 40 outcome document. And we will continue to work on triangular cooperation jointly with many of you in strong partnerships with DAC members like Canada, the EU, Germany, Japan, Norway, Spain, or international institutions like the Islamic Development Bank and CERIB, with the aim of contributing to better triangular cooperation partnerships as means to achieve the 2030 agenda. We provide analysis, data, evidence, dialogue, advocacy, tools, and policy advice, as you all know. Upcoming work on these pillars includes providing more operational tools. So if we want to go towards action, implementing what we have agreed, it's important to get tools. So now we will provide these operational tools to facilitate the implementation of triangle cooperation projects and analysis on working with civil society organizations in triangle partnerships in cooperation with RIS India. But our collaboration is further strengthened through regular exchange and joint work within the GPI. That's why today I'm so pleased to participate in this event on this remarkable initiative, of which both the UN Office of South-South Cooperation and Development Cooperation Directorate at OECD are core group members. Let me recall, I will avoid doing the archaeology of all our joint efforts within the GPI, but let me recall what we have together achieved over the last years. First of all, the GPI is explicitly mentioned in the BAPA Plus 40 outcome document and received a mandate to contribute to its implementation. It is a platform for all of us, governments, international organizations, civil society, private sector, philanthropy, local governments, and others to share knowledge and experience. Second, the GPI has produced and disseminated at the BAPA Plus 40 a report with contributions from GPI members. More than 100 triangle cooperation project experiences were shared and analyzed in this report. And finally, the GPI's voluntary guidelines aim to ensure that new triangular partnerships are grounded in effectiveness and will now be piloted in partnership with the GPDC, which, as many of you know, is jointly supported by the OECD and UNDP. And at its last meeting held in Lisbon, you all remember, in October, the GPI has agreed on an action plan for the next 2 years. And we invite you all to participate in the GPI activities. As an OECD contribution, we are engaging in analytical work and providing data from our online project repository on triangular cooperation projects. We now have a GPI focal point, Ms. Giovanna Zocal, who coordinates our activities on behalf of all core group members, and I can say that we are very happy to have her on board. So let me conclude, colleagues, by saying that in this context of the response to COVID and building back better, clearly triangle cooperation will play a vital role, not just mobilizing resources, but making it more effective and through innovative approaches. So I look forward to continue strengthening the partnership and international solidarity through triangle cooperation. And I'm sure that this MOU with the UN Office of South-South Cooperation will play an important role also supporting all this work. So thank you again, Tariq and Jorge, and looking forward to this joint work.
Well, thank you very much, Jorge, for this opening remarks and for highlighting the importance of this partnership between your organization and the UNOCC, and also for emphasizing important action that you have taken, including within the GPI, guided by the BAPA Plus 40 recommendations. Thank you very much for this opening remarks. So now I have the pleasure to give the floor to Jorge of UNOCC. Jorge, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tariq. Dear friends, I will do a little archaeology because when we met in Lisbon 3 years ago, I remember the face of horror of Ara and Georgie when I said that in the UN legislation, Nairobi, triangular cooperation was South-South cooperation supported passively by a third party, and that was it. I recognize the importance of triangular cooperation, the essential, and I agreed with Georgie to really engage in strong efforts to try to get triangular cooperation the political recognition it deserved. And we started by taking a very huge risk by joining the GPI in Nairobi on the spot when it was launched by Mexico and Canada, to try to get the GPI into the mandate of the office in a way, or as part of the office activities. And believe me, there was huge pushback from the member states of the G77 and even from colleagues in my own office who thought it was not a very prudent decision to undertake. But we did, we persevered. And I think, as George said, the triangular cooperation imposed itself. I don't want to assign ourselves those strong merits, but the reality of the contributions of triangular cooperation led to the political recognition that it obtained in BAPA plus 40. In Nairobi, it had only been mentioned 11 times in the 2009 conference. In the 2019 conference, it is mentioned 73 times with the specific sections devoted to just triangular cooperation, and also with the recognition that Georgie mentioned of the GPDC and the GPI, which, as you are very aware, were strongly rejected by the G77 to be included in any UN process. So we're really very proud that through the advocacy we promoted from the office, and also the quality of the work you have been doing in the OECD, preparing evidence-based materials that showed that triangular cooperation was a reality, and also the mobilization of political will that you succeeded in doing together, and also modestly we also did. Now we have this extraordinary space, and we have to build on it. That we're very proud that one of the last activities I'm doing as director of the office is signing the MOU that we discuss again in Lisbon. Lisbon seems to have a circularity in our deliberations and a great symbolism, that we agreed in the last session to have this MOU. And I think the challenge now is to continue showcasing the importance of triangular cooperation and get more partners to join, because that is the real challenge. So we count on the continuation of the work on the evidence-based, the advocacy, and also the engagement in the political process to make sure that we have more triangular cooperation and it's more centrally recognized. In that, I would like to invite you in the OECD to, again, do more sensitization with your own governments. And I mentioned this in the context that yesterday we had the commemoration of the UN Day for South-South Cooperation. And it was a big event here in New York. We had over 30 national delegations making statements and speaking of it. And unfortunately, we had no country from the North speaking again. So I would really ask you to make this effort to ensure that the commitment we have made and also the realities of what triangular cooperation represents is better reflected in the political processes here in New York. I want to finalize by saying that this event itself is part of the implementation of the MOU, because we are talking of organizing joint events, and this is it. And I'm very proud that although I'm leaving my post next week, I was able to participate in one of the events. And I will tell you that although I'll be leaving the post, I will continue to be committed to promoting South-South and to promoting triangular cooperation. And I finish with a pledge and another request, which is the possibility of OECD countries joining up and supporting the establishment of a triangular cooperation unit in our office, as we discussed several times with you at the OECD Secretariat and also with some member states. There is a space for that, and that will help us deepen and expand the advocacy of triangular cooperation. The doors are open by me until next Wednesday, and I'm very confident that whoever is my successor will continue to do that, because this imposes its merits in itself. So, dear friends, I have to leave you because the last few days are very busy now. I have to go to another webinar but you're in good hands with Tariq, and I really want you to let me know if between now and Wednesday I can do something more. I feel we've come a long way, but we'll continue to engage. So thank you very much, and good luck in the deliberations, and thank you for your partnership and your friendship.
Thank you very much, Jorge, for this opening remarks and for giving us a historical background about how triangular cooperation has evolved in the policy dialogues and legislation of the United Nations, and also for giving us also a political perspective, which is important in order to understand all the dynamics of international cooperation. And also for your call to engage more partners in triangular cooperation. Thank you very much for this opening remarks. And also I would like to congratulate the two organizations for the establishment of this MOU that for sure will provide an important framework for fruitful collaboration in order to support the effort of the countries of the Global South based on the principles of South-South and triangular cooperation in order to achieve the sustainable development goals. So thank you very much. Now we will move on to our next session and to the panel, to our distinguished panel, and which is composed of panelists that really reflect the diversity of the actors of triangular cooperation. So I'd like to introduce them. And in the panel, we have a very diverse panel, as I said, representative of countries, representative of United Nations, our colleague Anita, and also a representative from the civil society organizations. So we have Mr. Hisham Abdessalam Al-Miqwad from the Egyptian Agency on Partnership for Development. We have also Ms. Melissa Sanchez from the Chilean Agency for International Cooperation and Development. We have Mr. Hisa Kasu Hirauka, Health Group from the Human Development Department, Japan International Cooperation Agency. We have Mr. Norman Baisi from Youth Alive Kenya. We have Ms. Anita Moim, Emerging and Special Partnership Department of Partnerships and Field Support, International Labour Organization. Last but not least, we have Ms. Ariana Abdel Naim from the Canadian Council for International Cooperation. So, and then I will appreciate if the panelists will limit their intervention to the 5 minutes allotted to them. And also I'd like to inform the participant that they can share their comment and their question through the chat box, because we would like at the end that you have an interaction with our panelists. And this is, I think, an important element of the discussion and dialogue of today. So without further ado, I'd like to give the floor to Hisham. Hisham, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Tariq. It's a great pleasure to be today with all of you in this webinar that coincides with the UN Day of South-South Cooperation. And I would like to extend my gratitude, of course, to the OECD and the UN Office for South-South Cooperation and to our partner, the Islamic Development Bank. Let me just briefly start by giving you an idea what is the EAPD. So the Egyptian Agency of Partnership for Development is considered like the South-South cooperation arm of the Egyptian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It has been created by a presidential decree in 2014 with the objective of forging innovative partnerships at national, regional, and international levels to support the national efforts of Islamic and African countries and communities to achieve sustainable development in all its dimensions and to unleash the huge potential they possess. During the last 6 years, the agency has organized training programs in different fields, political, military, economic, social, for more than 11,000 participants from 42 countries, from Africa and Islamic countries. And in addition, we have almost 70 Egyptian experts working in 21 mainly African countries in different fields. We also provide emergency aid and humanitarian assistance to countries in need, definitely within a very limited budget. Okay, concerning the partnership we have with our Islamic Development Bank, it consists and it revolves around what we call the 3-2C initiative. The Islamic Development Bank is one of our long-standing partners. Our cooperation is evolving and is taking many forms. A number of lessons learned and best practices can be drawn from our joint projects. And let me brief you on some of them. The EAPD is collaborating with the ISDB in the establishment of the 3-2C initiative roadmap 2017-2020. Since its launch during the first round organized by the IDB for the agencies of technical cooperation of the member states countries in Jakarta in May 2016. The effort aims to shape and enhance the cooperation between the different agencies in order to reach the utmost level of South-South cooperation in the African continent with the effort of reaching the targeted sustainable development levels. Since Jakarta, the APD has participated in the first dialogue meeting of TCA held at IDB headquarters under the theme of scaling up and enhancing partnership for sustainable results among IDB MCCs. The meeting resulted in setting up the 3-2C initiative for technical cooperation as a platform of collaboration among TCA and IDB with a coordination mechanism. And also it led to the development of a detailed roadmap for 2017-2020 of this 3-2C initiative. There are several aspects to this cooperation. The first is the capacity building efforts. The APD and the ISDB are successfully collaborating in the field of capacity building programs for the African countries, particularly in the field of urology and nephrology disease, as well as the motherhood and childhood care. 3 fully intensive programs were organized for 70 participants from 30 countries over the period of 2018-2019. Also in collaboration with national centers of excellence, who are in many cases up to international standards, we succeeded in putting into implementation this objective. Also, one of the other achievements has been the mapping of Egyptian excellence centers, namely in agriculture, irrigation, judicial, and management sectors. In addition to documenting best practices for these institutions, the EAPD is conducting an effort within the 3-2C initiative roadmap with the aim to put a map for all these centers of excellences of the concerned countries responsible for the capacity building efforts in different areas. This effort is to facilitate the coordination and the collaboration between agencies in order to help for a more fruitful South-South cooperation. Also, a comprehensive training program for the improvement in cotton breeding, production, and technology has been put into implementation in view that Egypt is widely known for its unique cotton breeding program for producing and producing high-quality cotton. Another aspect also has been the Rural Development Plan for a Model Village. This project aims to develop and design community-based integrated sustainable development program for some rural villages with improved health, nutrition, sanitation, and livelihood status with focus on women, children, and youth. It includes intervention in maternal and child health, hygiene, and sanitation, training for computer and English classes, and income-generating activities, safe drinking water, and protection of the village environment. I really don't want to go into much detail because of the time constraint we have, but I think our cooperation with the Islamic Development Bank is a very good example of triangle cooperation and South-South cooperation. Thank you very much for your time, and Tariq, I leave the floor to you. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, Hisham. I really appreciate your really insightful presentation through which you have shown the experience of the Egyptian Agency of Partnership for Development. You have highlighted a very important element, your cooperation partnership that you have, the Islamic Development Bank. And what I appreciated more is what you have said about the mapping of the centers of excellence in Egypt and also documenting the good solutions and practices that you have in the country. This is an important element that we'd like also to promote, that will give us a chance to establish partnership and to share with others. And this is an important element that can help us all to achieve sustainable development goals at the global level, but most importantly for the countries at the national level. Thank you very much, Hisham, for this presentation. Now I have the pleasure to give the floor to Melissa, and it seems to me that Melissa has a PowerPoint presentation, if I'm not mistaken, and I will appreciate if you can put it. Melissa,
thank you, Terry.
over to you. Yes.
I'm just going to share my screen. Let me know
Okay.
if everything's okay. Good?
Yes, please go ahead.
Perfect. Good morning and good afternoon and good evening. My name is Melissa Sanchez and I work in the Chilean International Cooperation Agency for Development, AGSEED, and I'd first like to thank the GPI, the UNOSSC, and the OECD for this very kind invitation. My presentation today will provide a brief overview of Kizuna, which is a triangular cooperation program that's coordinated between AGSEED and the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA. The program focuses on disaster risk reduction, or DRR, in Latin America and the Caribbean, and I will also follow up and share some thoughts on DRR within the context of the current COVID crisis. So what is Kizuna? Well, Kizuna is a disaster risk reduction training program offered in Chile to professionals from Latin America and the Caribbean. The program began in October of 2015 and concluded in March of this year after a 5-year cycle. More than 5,000 professionals of the region participated in the program, of which more than 900 received highly specialized training in diverse areas related to disaster risk reduction, or DRR, all under the framework of the Japan-Chile Partnership Program, or the JCPP 2030. What is the overall goal of the program? Well, it's to strengthen the technical know-how and skills of professionals in Latin America and the Caribbean who work in DRR-related areas. The project also served as a platform for Chile to become a training hub in DRR-related areas, and mainly in earthquake and tsunami. How were we able to do this? Well, we offered 3 different pillars of training to professionals. And we also, the program also included the important contribution of more than 40 Japanese experts who traveled from Japan to Chile to offer modules within the various courses. So what is the significance of Kizuna? Well, Kizuna is a Japanese character, or kanji, which symbolizes the human bond. In 2011, it was chosen in Japan as the kanji of the year, and it represents the ties, human relationships, and connections that are the key to recovery and resilience. This slide basically represents how Kizuna was designed to be aligned with the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction and its 4 priorities for action, as well as to contribute to achieving the SDGs in Latin America and the Caribbean. Our program in particular focused on 3 SDGs, Goal 11, which is sustainable cities and communities, Goal 13, which is climate action, and Goal 17, which is partnerships for the goals. As I mentioned earlier, the disaster risk reduction program focused on providing 3 different pillars of training. Pillars 1 and 2 focused on human capital formation, and this included the implementation of short-term courses, a master's degree, and various diplomas, which were all offered by Chilean public institutions, as well as Chilean universities. And in this slide, you can see the number of participants per country in both of these 2 pillars, as well as a snapshot of more than 20 countries being able to participate in the program over its 5-year cycle. Pillar 3 of the program was the creation of a knowledge sharing network for program participants. This included more than 40 international events that we were able to implement under the framework of Kizuna. This included seminars and workshops that were not only held in Chile, but in other countries of the region. And this is just another snapshot of some of the events that we were able to sponsor over our program. So now that Kizuna has officially concluded, AgSeed and JICA have a very important task at hand. We must innovate our current DRR strategy for Latin America and the Caribbean within the context of a global pandemic. And on the one hand, we understand, and I think we can all recognize that disasters are more frequent, they're more complex, and they're also more deadly. And on the other hand, we also recognize that the COVID crisis has begun to compound obstacles that our countries are already facing. For example, the eradication of poverty, eliminating inequalities, and also combating climate change. So in our partnership with JICA, we see crisis as also an opportunity to innovate. And this slide represents our interest with JICA to design a second phase of the Kizuna program for next year. Our future programs, we believe, should include areas such as community-based disaster education, evacuations and shelters during pandemics, of course, mental health, and the transition from response to recovery, not only during pandemics, but also during natural disasters. And on a more practical level, with JICA, we are also moving to migrate our international courses, which have been implemented in Chile, to an online platform that uses e-learning and other virtual tools. Finally, we believe that the COVID crisis will be an extraordinary test on our ability to think outside the box and to be able to innovate and reinvent our triangular cooperation programs. And in terms of disaster risk reduction, how we can continue to build resilient societies and countries in Latin America and the Caribbean in a sustainable way while still striving to achieve the SDGs. Thank you very much. And if you'd like more information on the Kizuna program, you're welcome to contact me or to log on to our agency's website.
Well, thank you very much, Melissa. I really appreciate that you have given us today a very concrete, good example of partnership between you, your country, Chile, and JICA Japan, from which so many other countries have benefited. And this concept of Kizuna that highlights the human bound, resilience, and how important we know that so many countries are facing the challenge of the disasters, and also the link that you have made with the COVID-19 and the shared concern. I think this is really important, that could be used as an innovative solution and could be scaled up in order to see how we can use this experience in other challenges that, such as the one that you are facing today. Thank you very much for this good example. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now I have the pleasure to give the floor to Mr. Hisakazu. So please, you have the floor from JICA.
Okay, thank you very much. And good morning, and also good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. And it's very kind for you to invite me as a speaker. So today, in relation with the COVID-19, I'd like to express some of our activities of JICA. So I'm Hiraoka. I'm director of the Human Development Department that oversees the Health Partnership Program, especially in the Africa. And also I'm in charge for the activities of the infectious disease control. So how we are working in the infectious disease control program. JICA has formulated a position paper on SDGs. Of course, we are prioritizing our cooperation in the capacity development of public health emergencies. So which means that we are trying to promote the ability to respond to the International Health Regulation 2005 to have a great technical responsibility to the pandemic and also emerging diseases. So one of the examples of the capacity development of the infectious disease control is that we put one of the programs that prepare the partnership for building resilience against public health emergencies through advanced research and education. The name is a little bit long, but the component is almost three. One, the strengthening capacity of national core laboratories. In some of the countries like Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, DRC, Gabon, Zambia, we have supported the construction of the laboratory facilities to have the great researches and also diagnosis testing for the infectious diseases. So that kind of the cooperation. And the second cooperation is that strengthening the capacity of disease control experts. So we are now conducting some of the regional trainings. So we are inviting some of the personnel from the nearby country to the certain country. So now currently we are conducting the 3 regional training, one in Egypt, the second one is Ghana, and the third one is Kenya. So we're conducting these training program. At the same time that we are accepting some of the graduate students to study in graduate school in Japanese university. So we are accepting some of the students from the countries in Africa to study the infectious disease control program. And the third component is that networking. So now we are in line with the African Union's Africa CDC cooperation. So they are promoting some of the activities in the Africa. We are trying to in line with the cooperation with the Africa CDC. When we focus on the regional training program, this list is that the training program in the 3 countries, inviting the almost 10 or 20 personnel in each training course. One in Ghana, enhancing the laboratory skills for infectious disease in Western African countries for post-Ebola. So they are trying to build the capacity for the laboratory technician. And the other one is at Egypt. We collaborated with the Suez Canal University. And also this program is a collaboration program with the Egyptian Agency of Partnership for Development too. So we conduct some of the training, inviting the health administrator in the African countries. And also Kenya too. We're conducting the training program, inviting the laboratory technician for the virology, biology, and also parasitology. So we're promoting the skills in the laboratory testing. So why we can do such a kind of the triangular cooperation? So this picture shows the entrance of the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research that is in Ghana. This building is also supported by the Japanese government for the construction. And also we have several technical cooperation projects in Ghana to facilitate the technical ability in Ghana. We have a long history of the collaboration with Ghana, over 50 years. We constructed the Noguchi Memorial Institute in 1979. So until that, we have cooperated technically in those with the Noguchi Institute. And also we promoted more buildings too. In the last year, the Ghana government completed this facility for the further researches for the advanced activities. So this building was also supported by the Japanese government or JICA. Then Noguchi Institute now is a leading research institution and diagnosis testing institutions in Ghana. About 80% of the PCR tests for COVID-19 were conducted in Noguchi Institute. So in those areas of the cooperation, so we are doing some of the triangular cooperation. So I'd like to conclude my presentation. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, Isaka. So I really appreciate for giving us another good example of partnership with African countries on an issue that is really crucial, which is health. You have highlighted an important aspect because especially with this current crisis, everybody become aware that improving the capacities of countries in terms of laboratory, in terms of research, are really key in order to empower these countries to deal with this kind of crisis and health situation that is especially in emergency health situations. So thank you very much for this good example. And we look forward also because we would like our all participants to be inspired by these good examples. Maybe it could be a starting point for another partnership, a starting point for another endeavors and another action that we can take together in order to forward the implementation and the achievement of sustainable development goals in the African countries. And also, I'd like to highlight the focus that you are making on the African countries. Thank you very much for this example. Thank you. So now I have the pleasure to give the floor to Norman from Youth Alive Kenya. So Norman, please, you have the floor.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you are. Thank you very much, Mr. Tariq. I'm very grateful for this invitation and this engagement. I'm really learning a lot, and I'm delighted just to be part of this conversation. We just talking about the Global Partnership Initiative and focusing on triangular cooperation. Youth Alive Kenya is a beneficiary of triangular cooperation. Prior to that, we had an engagement with NOREC, previously known as FK NOREC. That was from 2016 to 2018, and that was an exchange cooperation between Norway and Kenya. So that was a north to south cooperation. That was later on changed when we started a new cooperation, the south to south cooperation between Kenya, Malawi, and Zimbabwe. We've had a number of successes, and the objective for the current engagement that we are having is just to have an inclusive participation of young people in development process in the 3 countries. This project aims at creating stronger youth organization networks, just to be able to gain knowledge and ability to participate in decision-making processes. We've been able to accommodate or host different participants. So far, we've had 12 successful participants. We are currently hosting others. Even in the midst of the corona pandemic, we are still hosting others. But we've been able to work together to see their development, their learning process, and also their ability to participate and represent themselves and their community in different engagements and decision-making processes. So usually the project fosters learning, that is south to south learning, and the approach is to transfer learning. During this exchange cooperation, as Youth Alive Kenya, we have a network of youth organizations from 12 counties out of 47 counties in Kenya. CSA, which is also a partner organization, since we are 3 partner organization. CSA, which is a Center for Youth Engagement and Civic Education from Malawi, also has youth organizations that they refer to youth clubs in Malawi. And also in Zimbabwe, we have Youth Empowerment and Transformational Trusts, who are our partners. They also have youth organizations as a network that they implement projects with. So we've been able to have different successful engagements. For example, we've been able to link these participants with different organizations. They've been able to learn a lot of different approaches when it comes to governance and democratic processes. We've been able to also impact knowledge in such a manner that the participants themselves, after the exchange, have been able to start their own initiatives that help the development and transformation of their communities. Apart from that, we've been able to connect the participants with different organizations in the countries that they're being hosted. And they're able not just to learn, but also get certified in different skills and learning processes that they go through. Of course, during this pandemic of 2019, we've faced different challenges. We've had participants falling out, and also the fact that the virus itself has brought in challenges such as closure of government operations and measures that have been adopted just to prevent the spread of the virus. But apart from that, having a very good support from NOREC, who are our main partner organization, they've been able to support us in coming up with a proposal that would then enable us implement the project, continue implementing the project in the midst of the coronavirus. So, of course, also embracing technology. Currently, we are really embracing technology in terms of implementing our projects and having our capacity building sessions. And we continue to do that within the individual countries, the 3 individual countries. And we are also planning to, like currently we are in the process of developing an e-learning platform where different youth from the 3 countries can log into the website and be able to undertake different courses. We've already started, we've already begun the development of that platform. Apart from that, we also are developing an alumni platform where we'll have all the participants from the North to South exchange and South to South exchange, where they'll be able to come together and share information. So as a project, the key thing is to be able to build the capacity of these youth that we work with. And to do that, of course, we are looking at different avenues, and we're really trying right now to utilize the online platforms that are existing to be able to impact the life of young people in our societies. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you. I'd like to thank you, Norman, for this really another good example of partnership that you are having with NOREC, and it was scaled up in order for you, Kenya, to provide your support to other countries in the region. You have mentioned Zimbabwe and Malawi, and you have really emphasized important and key elements that is related to youth in Africa, because we know that youth represent the bulk of the population in Africa. And the fact that you pointed out that it's important that they have this ability, this capacity, is not only to be given the ability, but you need to have this capacity in order to participate in political processes, decision making. I think this is really important. And here you highlighted the issue of learning, knowledge, development of skills, and how we can use technology, e-learning, as empowerment tools in order to achieve these goals. I think this is a really good example. So we congratulate you, and we look forward also that other organizations and other partners can also partner with you in order to forward the development and the achievement of sustainable development in Africa. Thank you very much for this good example, Norman. I really appreciate it. Now I have the pleasure to give the floor to my friend, good friend Anita from ILO. Anita, please, you have the floor.
Thanks, Tarek. Always good to have friends on the other side of the Atlantic, right? So thanks very much to the UN Office for South-South Cooperation and GPI for having invited the ILO and invited me in particular. We have quite a long history together, working together. And in terms of the triangular cooperation as well, maybe I'll just say, I know archaeology is not in the fashion, but I'll just say 1 or 2 little things of the history in terms of the triangular cooperation road. Like Jorge mentioned, also originally our triangular cooperation wasn't the strongest point, let's say. But from the beginning, the ILO had this vision that triangular cooperation was very critical and important to be added to South-South. So in both the GB papers that we have, our governing body governance structure, we have triangular cooperation as part of South-South. So we actually introduced the South-South and triangular cooperation concept that didn't exist before. It was South-South cooperation and triangular cooperation. So everywhere in all papers, we started putting this because it was believed by our constituency that it was so critical to have triangular cooperation along with South-South. At the time, of course, concepts are evolving and there's different definitions of what really triangular cooperation is or not. So we go by what our governance structure has adopted and also BAPA. So basically we do get a bit this sense of the cooperation between countries of the South with the support of Northern countries, OECD, other partners from the North, as so traditional as to say, but of course that also could be a multitude of partners, including multi-stakeholder partnerships, private sector. So the definitions are expanding as we go. And the second point I wanted to mention briefly is what will be a reflection about how this how this is translated in the ILO different strategic framework. I know I have only 4 more minutes, but I'll try to be brief. And some words on the COVID-19, so how we're dealing with that, just to follow what Tarek asked me. So I'll try to do that. So basically, in terms of the International Labour Organization, of course, as you can imagine, South-South cooperation is a very critical, important thing. Because we have a multi-stakeholder constituency, we have a tripartite constituency, which is workers, employers, and government. So the South-South dimension comes to support this constituency through peer learning and through different elements. Some of the elements that we have managed to have, for example, one of the principles is social dialogue. So we managed to include the whole question of peer learning among workers, employers, and organizations through the Global Labor University, for example. And that is a good example of triangular cooperation as well, because we have think tanks from India, Brazil, South Africa, so let's say IBSA, supported by Germany. So we have a kind of the multiple triangles here, because we have the trilateral from IBSA and the triangle from Germany. We have also a focus on international labor standards, as you can imagine, as the ILO, and many of these South-South and triangular cooperation projects have supported, for example, implementation of conventions like 182 on the worst forms of child labor, and oftentimes it has been with the support of triangular cooperation. So for example, we had Brazil-US Alliance for Combating Child Labor in the Americas, and also the same thing with Portugal for Portuguese-speaking countries. And the same applies to Convention 169 regarding indigenous populations. So we have, of course, support from Spain to the Americas on the indigenous population work. And we had other, for example, in C190 regarding violence. We also have support from many European countries, from OECD countries, EU. So we have worked, for example, in the EPIC project, South-South learning mechanisms, but with this triangular cooperation focus. On other areas of our work, such as economic, social, environmental transitions for full productive employment, green economy, we have also worked in South-South and triangular cooperation way, giving a lot of strength to the triangular cooperation dimension, especially because we do that through a sub-modality, because you have the 2 modalities, right? When you read BAPA, South-South and triangular. So you have the sub-modalities, which are like city-to-city cooperation, fragile-to-fragile, SIDS to SIDS, other modalities, which are very important. And through the fragile-to-fragile cooperation, we have actually worked pretty intensely in terms of triangular as well, because we have the G7 plus work with the ILO by the signature of an agreement, but also support from Northern countries to alliances in questions of fragility, supporting entrepreneurship in between fragile countries with a gender perspective. So that has been pretty much enhanced by our triangular cooperation. And just to add to what I think the colleague Melissa had presented on DRR, we're also having a lot of work on disaster risk reduction. And in particular, a course in Turin that is being featured because we are the South-South Partner of the Month for the UN office. So also celebrating South-South Day, we have that. And one of the things we're doing right now is a course on disaster risk reduction and South-South cooperation. So we have, I think that is part of the work of JICA as well, and to work with disasters. So we have been working on this area in particular due to the COVID impact. So if you have a situation of conflict, or you already don't have employment, and on top of that, you have the COVID-19 crisis, it aggravates things, and it also makes it more difficult to have, the quick resilience measures that we need. So we had some very interesting material. Some of it is on the web, so you can look up in the South point. And another area was tourism, because that we also showcased, because of course you can imagine how with the COVID-19, the tourism sector has been impacted very brutally. So we have actually done a series of materials working together with IITC Turin Center and promoted sustainable tourism, now a bit virtually, because we have to also be creative. So we have many like virtual tours of museums or virtual tours of areas, even rural areas, through drones. So in the technology part, we've been trying to be also creative, but on the other hand, we also have to support those who have no access to technology. So we have been trying to do our best to work also with the tourism sector, sharing our good practices. And there is also a particular course on that, virtual, ongoing now. I think just to wrap up, we have some other areas which are linked to skills and our lifelong learning. And here we have a strong collaboration with Norway. In fact, we were going to have a very big South-South and Triangular Cooperation Forum this year. We had also, I think, support from Japanese government, Norway, from the north side, and a big support also from BRICS countries and other South-South partners. But of course, due to the pandemic, this has been transformed into a series of webinars and virtual courses. So we didn't want to abandon the content of this skills forum. And that will be soon available, so I'll share with you. Finally, there are some other areas like social protection for all and occupational safety and health. We're working with China on some occupational safety and health issues, working with Laos and Vietnam, peer learning on this area, a little bit challenging to do so through virtual seminars because some of them concerns training for workers that don't necessarily have all access to technology, but we are managing to prepare some simple, accessible modules that can still transmit the content regarding OSH, especially in the framework of COVID. So minimum measures and protective measures that you need to have. And also we have, in terms of our mainstreaming work, we have, of course, supported the UN office in this recent launch of the good practices on South-South cooperation. You probably all received the message. So some of them are, I think, 3 or 4, even up to more than that, linked to SDG 8 on the decent work for all. But several we directly inputted, through the work of promoting work of, for example, Sierra Leone women enterprises cross Manu River, and peer learning monitors for fragility in countries that are cooperating among each other as well. So that is also available. And otherwise, we have also shared on our web. So we have a little platform which is called southsouthpoint.net. You can Google it after the workshop. I can put it in the chat as well. And there you have most of our up-to-date information, including we're putting everything that we have from the UN office, from South-South Galaxy as well there, and most of our publications. We have 2 publications on triangular cooperation. We have cooperated also with OECD on this matter of the triangular cooperation when they were doing their first publication. So we're looking forward to continue cooperating with GPI, OECD, and UN office on South-South and the triangular cooperation component, which is very important. And ILO is totally supportive of this approach. Over.
No, thank you very much, Anita. I really appreciate for sharing this really rich experience and work of ILO in South-South triangular cooperation, and how you highlighted how you have moved from the effort in order to include South-South triangular cooperation as parameters of the work of the organization. I know that this is not easy, and how you can translate this into policy document, into policy and legislation at the level organization, and how to implement. I was, I have to say, very happily surprised to know the richness of your partnership. So you have a wealth of partnership with so many partners. The areas of work in which you are engaged, this is really fantastic. So you are engaged in so many areas of fragile to fragile, social protection, tourism, disaster risk reduction, and also you highlighted the work that you are trying to do in this current context of the pandemic. And an important concept that I have that I have noticed in all the presentations so far is the key role of learning, how South-Southern Triangular Cooperation, because in essence, South-Southern Triangular Cooperation is a process of learning from each other, how we can share good solutions and good practices. So thank you very much, Anita, for this presentation, that you highlighted the good work that is done by ILO in South-Southern Triangular Cooperation. Thank you very much. And now I have the pleasure to give the floor to Ariana from the Canadian Council for International Cooperation. Ariana, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Tarek. And thank you to everyone for joining today. It's my pleasure to join. So the few points I'll be presenting today are based on research CCIC carried between October 2019 and March 2020. More specifically, I'll be speaking to the links between triangular cooperation and civil society organization, especially in the context of COVID-19. You'll find a link to our report in the chat box if you'd like to refer to it. So to begin with, why does civil society matter for triangular cooperation? Triangular cooperation is based on the art of building partnerships and trust while combining a variety of resources, experiences, and capacities. A key player in such partnerships can very well be, and often is, a civil society organization. Their expertise, as well as accessibility and knowledge of local needs and context-specific solutions, are instrumental to leaving no one behind. Civil society organizations enable the creation of links between the developing country in need and the country able to provide the required assistance. Civil society offers the required space within which successful partnerships, such as the modality of triangular cooperation, can flourish. It also enables experiences and knowledge sharing, which is quintessential to developing successful triangular cooperation partnerships. Second, COVID-19 is a gateway to planning better and evolving. Prior to the pandemic, perceived challenges of engaging in triangular cooperation from our report included unawareness of the modality, long periods spent on relationship building and funding applications, differing partner agendas, and more. Yet these challenges are not insurmountable, and the surge of new strategies to push through the pandemic have proven this. As such, we've seen a rise in scenario planning. So CSOs have looked beyond the immediate challenges they face to start considering the issues they will have to address in the future. There's also an increased usage of outside-in thinking. CSOs are considering external changes such as the pandemic and its impacts and incorporating them into their work. Furthermore, civil society has used the pandemic as a means to develop contingency plans like never before. Existing programs have space to adjust to the COVID-19 reality, but they are also expected to continue focusing on the long-term outcomes that characterize a just recovery. In this context of needing greater flexibility, we can indeed say that difficult times have resulted in innovation. Civil society is playing a prominent role to effectively respond to the crisis with stronger partnerships and support for a more equitable, resilient, and sustainable future. From this stems as well the opportunity to seize this moment in time and innovate. CCIC has seen in recent times its own membership shift their functioning at home and abroad to create and reach out for partnerships that can take on and handle the pandemic. Partnerships that they may have not thought of before, which has enabled many other opportunities and methods to deliver services. We've increasingly seen more flexibility in the use of development and humanitarian funds to support responses that most appropriately address urgent and emerging community and individual needs. So all in all, innovation may also lead to a shift in power. CSOs see triangular cooperation as a path to equitable partnerships with Southern partners and the adoption of the equitable partnership principles. Triangular cooperation has the potential to decolonize development assistance by shifting the focus and power from Northern partners to Southern partners. Implication of the pandemic for Northern NGOs has as well triggered a real questioning of current funding and business models. Triangular cooperation is a pathway to equitable partnerships that recognize different roles and capacities of all partners. We suspect the COVID-19 impact has prompted an uptake of triangular cooperation and many other types of local partnerships. Finally, making headway for increased applicability of the voluntary guidelines for effective triangular cooperation has arisen. These principles, these voluntary guidelines are a set of goalposts highlighting a shared commitment for ensuring effectiveness and equitable partnerships. And there is no better time than now to focus on these, as processes have slowed down significantly and enabled civil society as a whole to reevaluate decision-making processes, accountability mechanisms, as well as focus on results-oriented approaches and solutions. More importantly, joint learning and knowledge sharing for sustainable development that is conscious of the pandemic and residual effects. So as the UN Secretary recently said, at this unusual moment, we cannot rely on the usual methods. Extraordinary times demand extraordinary measures. We face a colossal test which demands decisive, coordinated, and innovative action from all, for all. So this can very well start with triangular cooperation, but bearing in mind that there is no one-size-fits-all approach. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ariana. I really appreciate very insightful presentation. We started with a very relevant question, which is why civil society organizations matter. And you have provided, I will say, all the good answers, because you have talked about that, and based on a very important principle, which is to leave no one behind. Because you said that civil society organization can provide capacities and resources, expertise, networking, knowledge, experience sharing. And also in the context of the COVID, you also highlighted important elements, which is how we can plan better, how we can innovate, how we can establish and involve everybody. Inclusivity is an important element when responding to this kind of crisis. And we, as civil society organization, can be more flexible in implementing measures in a way that is very appropriate and on time. So thank you very much for this really very insightful presentation, Ariana. So I'd like to encourage, we have listened now to our last presentation from our distinguished panelists. And I would like to encourage our participant to provide a comment. And since we have some time, and it seems to me that even it could be even possible to, if someone would like to take the floor to comment, but I will appreciate if you can very, very short, in order to give the opportunity to our distinguished panelists to interact and to respond to your question. I don't know if Giovanna we can do that, because if any participant would like to take the floor for, let's say, 30 seconds and a minute, I think if it would be possible to do that. Otherwise, if you have any questions, sorry for that, we can read out the question to the colleagues so they can interact with the audience. Giovanna?
Yes, they can. Yes, Tarek, thank you. Participants may raise their hands and we can give them the right to speak. They can also send the questions through Q&A button.
So anyone would like to take the floor for a short comment or a question? We'll be more than happy to do that. I know I'm trying to look at the chat box, but do we have any question there, Giovanna? Sorry for that, because I cannot see.
It's all right, Tarek. So we do have a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
And a question from our friend Nabil Anwadi. Okay. So he's wondering about the criteria taken into consideration when choosing the South-related country within a triangular cooperation scheme, and also which serves as a hub linking between a development country or organization and the main recipient countries. If I may give a lead to that, I think it's a great opportunity also to dig a little bit into the details of the work of the GPI into the three roles that we have: beneficiary, pivotal, and facilitator. So Tarek, if you may want to give a hand on that or pass on to any of the core group members, feel free to respond to it.
So I don't know if our distinguished panelists would like to react to that first, and then I can give the floor either to, I don't know, Anna or Nadine, so they can also elaborate on this question. I don't know, I'd like to go in a reverse order. I don't know if, do you want us to repeat the question? I don't know. Ariana, do you have any comment or reaction to the question asked by Nabil? Of, I don't know if you can, I can see it in the chat box.
Yeah, so based on our report, we've seen at least two trends in terms of the types of partnerships within triangular cooperation. The first is that there's usually a regional approach. So that's when a project is applied in multiple countries within a specific region, given that the countries are probably have a lot of similarities. Another style that we encountered in our research was a triangular cooperation project that is more specifically geared towards South-South learning. So the northern partner is more there to facilitate the connection between two South countries and assist them in learning from each other. So that's at least what I've seen on our end.
Thank you very much, Ariana. Anybody else would like, Anita, you asked, yeah.
Yes, Tarek, from the ILO perspective in this how-to guide that I mentioned, we have a little bit of this kind of criteria to say, but in terms of like how to engage, we would actually put it the other way around, because the question is like how to engage the country of the South, and we would either put it like how to engage the country in the North, because from our GB papers and all that, our understanding that South-Southern Triangular is kind of mostly South-driven. Of course, there's a strong input from the triangle that is a northern partner, but there is this drive from developing countries. So that is very important for us in our perspective, you know, because it has all these, you know, that word is coming from AAAA, or wait, did I put too much A's there? But anyway, the whole question of ownership and, you know, the fact that it's mutual benefit. So normally we would have the most typical South-South Triangular Cooperation projects. We already have a South-South project, and that would attract the funds from the partner of the North, let's say. But we do also have collaboration that spontaneously happen between the three. But what I would say is very important is leaving the developing countries, South countries in the driver's seat. But then the most strong criteria, those which are in the BAPA plus 40, which is the principles of equality, multi-stakeholder approach, mutual accountability, transparency, mutual benefit, participatory nature, solidarity, and ownership. So if they do not pass this kind of quiz, you know, then we should not engage in cooperation.
Thank you very much, Anita. I have Hisaka, so you ask for the floor. So please, you have the floor to react to that.
Thank you very much. So when we promote the South-South cooperation and also triangular cooperation, so the most important thing is that the needs of the recipient countries and also the implementing agencies. So every time that we come up with the idea how we promote the cooperation, we continue the discussion, the dialogues with the countries abroad, and also when we start the dialogues, the most important channel for the dialogue is at our office in each country. Now we have nearly 100 overseas country offices in the worldwide. And through these offices, we continue the discussions and routine dialogues with the countries. So then we can know about the needs of each countries. I think that would be an important aspect for choose the countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hisakasu, for your reaction. So, Melissa, so please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Tarek. In terms of the Kizuna program, I also wanted to mention that the program was designed with various steps beforehand. Kizuna was based on the technical assistance, the years of technical assistance provided by Japan to Chile, as I mentioned, especially after our 2010 earthquake and the 2011 earthquake in Japan. So out of both of these events, many innovative projects were implemented in Chile in the areas of tsunami and earthquake analysis, which is why it was one of the reasons that we could triangulate it many years later. So in terms of our triangular cooperation program with JICA, most of our programs stem from a successful bilateral program that was implemented many, many years before. So we found that now we were at the stage and in a position to share that know-how with the rest of the region.
Thank you very much, Melissa. I don't know if Norman is taking the floor, but I have a question from one of the participants for you, Ulrich Bühler from GIZ. So we can give him the floor if he would like. If otherwise, we can read out the question. So Ulrich, what do you prefer? Would you like to take the floor, Ulrich?
Yes, many thanks, and congratulations for this interesting events. I'm very pleased that you are highlighting in all the cases Africa and multi-stakeholder approaches so much. My specific question to Norman is if in this inter-African case there have been any participation of government, and if so, in which way? Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ulrich. Yeah, over to you if you'd like to react to Ulrich's question. Norman, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can. Thank you very much, Ulrich. In our South-to-South cooperation, what we are working, when we engage the government, we engage different people within different governmental sectors. A very good example is we work very closely with different members of county assemblies who represent a particular region in terms of governance, in the governance structure. So we usually connect our participants with different leaders. They go, they have a sit down, and they are able to ask different questions that relate to youth engagement in a meaningful participation. Apart from that, from time to time, we have roundtable discussions with different leaders, and it is from this point that the participants are able to learn on how the governance structure is here in Kenya, or in Malawi or Zimbabwe, and once they're able to get that information, then they're able to push for a replica of that in their country. That is, if that is missing. So that is the most appropriate way that we engage government officials, or rather the government. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Norman, for the answer. And I have my good friend Priyanto from Bapenas. He has a question. I have it here, but if you would like to take the floor to ask question, Priyanto, please, over to you if you would like to ask your question. Priyanto?
Yes, thank you, brother Tariq. So first of all, I'd like to thank to all of the panelists for sharing your experience doing on the triangle cooperation. Now, I would like to know from colleagues from Egypt and Chile, do you put the triangle cooperation into your budget system? And how do you, I mean, how the mechanism to put into your budget system? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Priyanto. So colleagues, Egypt and Chile, if you'd like to react to the question from Priyanto. Yes, Hisham?
Yeah, can I start? Okay, thank you very much. Actually, even though the EAPD is part of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but it has an independent budget. However, of course, as part of the government, we are accountable to the Ministry of Finance. So we have always to declare the amount of money put into any program, including the finance offered by our partners, whether the Islamic Development Bank or sometimes the JICA. So I don't know if I'm answering the question, but there's a certain degree of transparency, and the financial part given by our partner has to be, we have to inform the government and the Ministry of Finance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hisham. Melissa, would you like to comment on Priyanto's question?
Yes,
Please go ahead.
similar to my colleague from Egypt, our budget is also accountable to the Ministry of Finance, and our budgets are year to year from January to December. So within our budget, we do have a item for triangular cooperation. And I'd also want to clarify that our cooperation is technical assistance. So it's the contribution of Chilean experts who travel abroad and participate in our programs, and also the institutions, the Chilean institutions who receive delegations and receive missions in Chile, that are part of our different cooperation programs. So the answer is yes.
Thank you very much, Nisa, for your reaction and answer to the question. I don't know if we don't have any other question or comment. I'd like to finish our discussion of today and dialogue with a few closing remarks that I'd like to share with you, some ideas and some insight. What I have learned from this debate and dialogue today about an important topic, which is how triangular cooperation is contributing to sustainable development. And here I'd like to thank our distinguished panelists for this really exciting discussions on triangular cooperation. It will be impossible in a few minutes to reflect the wealth of ideas and insight that were shared today. But I'd like to highlight, just as I said, just few main ideas discussed today, and that are really at the center how we are trying to promote and stimulate further triangular cooperation to be at the service of the achievement of the SDGs and other development goals. And I'd like to start by one of the main idea, which is that, and that we can draw even from the discussion of today, is that BAPA Plus 40 has marked a turning point and a paradigm shift for triangular cooperation as a modality, and this is really important, that is based on the trust. I think it's really important because if you establish partnership with someone, you need trust and complementarity of the actors of cooperation so they can complement each other. And we have seen so many examples today. It is also that is a cooperation that is also based on the equality of partners. So partners, regardless of their level of development, can benefit, can provide support to others that are involved in this is a partnership. And there's another element. This is a partnership that's owned by all the actors involved. This is an important element to be highlighted. And I think the idea that really underpins triangular cooperation, one of the main ideas is that no country is too poor to support and share development solutions with other countries, and no country is too rich to learn from others. I think this is really the important idea that underpins triangular cooperation, because countries, it could be whatever the level of development, they can innovate, they can put in place innovative solutions that could be shared with others. And the countries, even the rich countries, they can always learn from others from this this innovative solution that could be coming from developing countries. And triangular cooperation is really bringing together different actors. We have seen it even in our panel of today, that can offer knowledge, expertise, resources, and in order to achieve a common goal. And this is, I think, a key point to be highlighted, that the ultimate goals of triangular cooperation, it is a modality, tools and mechanism of partnership that will help us to achieve higher goals, which are sustainable development goals, the 2030 agenda. It could be regional goals, just in case of Africa with the 2063 agenda. And what we have learned also from today is that, especially for the national experiences, because in order to make triangular cooperation work for countries, you have to put in place an enabling environment. And what we have seen is the reason why it is important to put in place a national ecosystem. And here I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Islamic Development Bank for putting forward this concept. And this ecosystem really starts with a political will, because without political will, it is really difficult to put in place a framework of partnership. We need guidance strategies and policies that set the main objective to achieve institutional structures. We have seen it with Egypt, also with Egypt, Chile, and JICA. and that they have institutions that are dealing with international cooperation, with South-South cooperation, with triangular cooperation. We need also partnership, we need resources and management, and also important to make sure that we map, we document, we evaluate. And here I'd like to come back to the example of Egypt when the colleague Hisham, he talked about mapping and documenting, because this is how we can learn and how we can share. We can learn from our own experiences and how we can share the experiences with other countries. But triangular cooperation is not only bringing government, and we have seen even today a UN organization, ILO, and how ILO is with very rich experience and work that is doing in South-South and triangular cooperation, and promoting triangular cooperation. And I have to say the UN has a lot of assets to promote and use triangular cooperation, given its convening power, and especially when it comes to put in place policy guidance, policy recommendation, and we have seen it with the BAPA plus 40 conference. The UN has operational capacities in order to implement. It has expertise, capacities to mobilize partners and resources and other organizational aspects. I think the UN is really a key actor and a key partner in triangular cooperation, and this has been highlighted in the BAPA plus 40 conference. But also we need other actors. They play a crucial role, like civil society organization, and we had today a very good examples with Alive Africa in Kenya, and also the Canadian Council for International Cooperation. They shared with us a very good example how they contribute in a very meaningful way in how to make triangular cooperation work for the most in need, and in order to empower youth, to empower all the constituencies of the society, and to leave no one behind. I think this was really good examples. And from what we have seen today, I think the major takeaway should be that we have to take this example as a way how we can promote further triangular cooperation based on the examples that we have seen today. So I think this could be an opportunity to exchange, to learn from each other, but also how we can partner. So I will encourage our distinguished participants if they can network with each other and to see how they can further move forward. And the questions that we have received from so many colleagues, even from the colleague from JIZ, shows clearly the interest in the examples that have been showcased today. And let me say, if the BAPA plus 40 has given an important political impetus to triangular cooperation, it is really important to bring this cooperation to a higher level and to increase its impact. And here I'd like to emphasize the role that is played by the GPI on effective triangular cooperation. It has been highlighted from the beginning because it brings together, it's an initiative, a platform that brings together different actors that really believe in the merit and the capacity of triangular cooperation to bring positive change to the landscape of international cooperation. Building on the BAPA plus 40 recommendation, the global partnership GPI and effective triangular cooperation is committed and engaged in gathering evidence, data, and mapping triangular solutions, because I think this is an important element, how we can use the wealth of experiences and knowledge we have in order to scale it up, in order to share it with others. And this is what is at the center, at the essence of South-Southern triangular cooperation. The GPI also convening policy dialogues. We are having even this discussion today. And it was mentioned before that there will be a GPI session during the 5th Regional Conference on Triangular Cooperation in Latin America to be hosted by the German Cooperation Partnership with Argentina, and on 7th and 8th of October of this year, 1 month from now. The partners also and the GPI could be a platform to provide partners with concrete facilitation tools, and also to advocate for triangular cooperation as an important tool to achieve sustainable development. I have so many other comment, but I'd like just to add one comment, which is about the COVID-19 pandemic, because it has been highlighted in so many presentations. Because this pandemic has put us as a global community before the imperative that we have to coordinate and we have to cooperate with each other, and also highlighted the importance of interdependence that exists not only between countries, but so many other stakeholders, civil society organization, private sector, international organization, international financial institutions, because we have to coordinate with all each other in order to overcome this pandemic. It's not only about a matter of one act or another, but is the matter that concerns everybody. And I think triangular cooperation offers an ideal framework for this coordination, cooperation, and then interdependence. And our fantastic panel of today is really a concrete example of that. So this would be my last message to you, that you can count on the UN Office South-South cooperation to support the endeavors and the taking of triangular cooperation to help countries of the South to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, but to help all actors to involve, to learn, and also to participate to this really fantastic endeavor, which is to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals globally. You have heard at the beginning that our director is leaving, and you have congratulated him for all that he has done to promote South-South triangular cooperation. But I would like to assure you, and even to assure him, that we will continue with this journey, and in supporting from the office perspective, South-Southern triangular cooperation will be more than happy to engage with you further in this endeavor. And as a final words, I'd like to thank all our distinguished panelists for this wonderful discussion, and also our participants, all the participants, for their presence and contributions, and hope that you will take with you something, ideas, insight, but most importantly, how we can partner with each other for the implementation of in the Baba Plus 40 recommendation through the modality of triangular cooperation. It was really a very exciting discussion that we have had today, and we look forward to engaging with you further in the future. And once again, thank you, and see you very soon. Thank you very much, colleagues. And unless, I don't know if any other colleague would like to take the floor. Anna, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, yes, thank you so much. Just to say thank you very much for the discussion, and to plead you also to, I think Giovanna can put your email in the chat also. She's our focal point for the GPI, so anything that you might want to know about the GPI, you can reach out to her for sure. And completely agreeing with Tariq's message about we need to work together, we need to leverage triangle cooperation in South-South even more. And that's where we are committed to. And I think we all are on the same page here. And there is a big program of the GPI also as a contribution to that. So let's work together, and very nice to see you all. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Anna. It was a pleasure. And thank you for this message that I echo very deeply. And we look forward to engaging with you further, and see you soon, as I said. Thank you, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tariq.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Giovanna.
Thank you to all the speakers, all the participants.
Thanks, Tariq and Giovanna. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.